Terrifying, isn't it?
And don't make them perfect. I hate perfect teeth.
He's always been like a turd of a character. Did he about?
Rob can't afford to do this line anymore.
Do it.
Welcome, all you Sheehanites, to another ripping episode of Sheehan's Dead Comics. Rob Liefeld knows your address, and now you know his 45 seconds of new content.
Rat running in front of the land speeder. All right. Well, you answered the question then. You're cool with it. I guess I'll have to adjust my thinking on that Gotham topic then.
Wait a minute. Aren't we going to talk about how you almost died?
No, we're not talking about that.
Okay.
That's not what we're talking about.
That's going to be edited out.
I promise I'll never bungee jump again.
Yeah.
It's always too long.
And not long enough.
So, Gotham City. What real city is Gotham City based on? That's an easy one.
No, that's New York.
Okay. So it's New York. Who was the first person to dub New York City Gotham?
Wick Wemple.
I thought it was Sheehan.
You're the most powerful one here. Stop this nonsense. That I don't know. Rob Liefeld.
But I have some conditions. I have conditions.
I'm trying to think here. Don't ruin it. So Washington Irving.
He was the one?
Yes. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Washington Irving. And he's the first one to call New York City Gotham. So that was 1807. So guess what? That means that in 3 years, it's going to be the 35th anniversary of Batman Returns.
Yes.
You're really going to be dancing. You know what they're going to do? They're going to re-release it on Laserdisc.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Wow.
It's Alvin and the Chipmunks on Laserdisc.
So disappointing. Exactly. The only way to really watch Alvin and Chipmunks is on Laserdisc. I mean, if you do it any other way, it's just not cool.
Well, when I see a bunch of movies randomly played through on HBO Max, I'm like, oh, Scotty's been recording again.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really care if my computer's infected. At least I have all this ripped off music. So what year was Gotham founded? Do you know that? Okay. 1635, apparently.
Oh, I was going to say 1635 and a half. Yeah,
How about the three founding families?
It's the Cobblepots, the Waynes, and the Canes, I believe.
There's a different one. It starts with an E, I think. Something like Elliot or...
Oh, yeah, Elliot's too. Yeah. Well, that's a play on... because then now they're incorporating Thomas Elliot from Hush.
She did allude to the fact that there's been so much retconning that it kind of depends on where you're reading it.
Your headcanon, they call it.
The headcanon, yes.
Oh, let me show you this. So this is something I've been wanting to show you. I forgot I had it. I thought I had it, forgot I had it, and I have it.
And then you remembered. Oh, baby. Oh, yeah, that's scary. So what are we looking at here? Like a box set with a mask and a book?
Yes, it's the Death of the Family trade paperback, and then the mask, the Joker mask from Volume 3.
Yeah.
And I opened it, and you could put the mask on. It's kind of weird. See, and it's got hair. The hair.
Oh, yeah! Wow, it even has hair. That does make.
Yeah, this is from 2014, I think. So
who's the artist on that again?
Greggy Capullo. So it's got it's got the trade paperback of Volume 3. See?
Nice. Yeah, that creeps me out. That whole face thing is creepy.
Oh, it is. It is.
Is Robin going to be okay with you putting that on when you're wearing it?
Oh, that's right. And this I got from New York Comic Con.
Yes. If you go back and look at our episode of the day we were there, you'll see him. I got him as he was.
It's the 4-minute. It's the 4-minute, almost 5-minute video from back then. So you go like this.
Oh my goodness, that's horrible.
It's terrifying, isn't
it? It is. You can have your own low budget slasher flick.
You really could, and film it in 4K on the iPhone.
Oh man,
this is definitely a gimmick.
You can start your own TikTok channel with that puppy. Goofy, you could just wear that, and you could be in the kitchen making Betty Crocker recipes. Let's make corn muffins.
Let's get a little crazy and get our
right. Get out your number 2 brush.
Oh,
I couldn't really keep that in my room at night because I would be afraid that it would start talking to me.
No, you can't actually. And it's starting to fill up. It really is.
For those of
check
you
it
who
out.
don't know, Billy is the name of one of the IKEA shelving systems. Dude, I'm telling you, that guy that came and did that, he was not the guy who was you thought he was.
Take a look at the inside of your dog's mouth.
No, but
He
he
just
got it to
showed up.
where,
He was just like some guy that was like living out in the hallway somewhere, and he intercepted
but
your
you know what? He had a couple of power drills, and that did the job.
and
So
you gave him a tip, and so he was happy.
yeah, I said, don't bet the horses. Ugh. Ugh. This, since the last time we were on, we recorded. This came in the mail. I'll show you all the stuff that came in the mail.
Yes, please.
Came in the mail.
Nice.
It's a beautiful Flash omnibus. I think this was from Rebirth. Yeah. So I had the Flash Rebirth Deluxe editions, and now this is all of them collected. I think it's up to like maybe number 3.
So who's our
The
writers and our artists?
Oh yeah. So this was like a coming out party, I believe, for Joshua Williamson, and the main artist was Howard Porter, but there was also another artist that helped out, Carmine Di Giandomenico. Superstar writer Joshua Williamson. I don't think he's a superstar writer. No, I'd say he's a star, or he's well known. He's not a superstar. Like Scott Snyder is a superstar. Joseph Loeb III, you may know him as Jeff Loeb. He's a superstar writer. So it says superstar writer Joshua Williamson sends Barry Allen, aka the Flash, on some of the wildest adventures of the modern age in this series spinning out of the DC Rebirth event.
What years about would that have originally have been published?
Oh, this probably would have been like,
the comics themselves.
from 2016 to 2018-ish.
All right. So not too long ago.
Right. So there's going to be more volumes coming. So this is the first volume.
Ezra probably didn't get a one for gratis on that.
Or if he did, they came to his house and took it back after the movie bombed. This is an Omni Ultimate Marvel by Jonathan Hickman. Now, okay. You want to talk about superstar writers? Jonathan Hickman is beyond superstar. He's like Marvel's supernova of writing. Okay. I haven't read this yet, but I am intrigued. It says, before he reshaped the Marvel Universe with Secret Wars and ushered in the revolutionary Krakoan era for mutant kind and House of X, Powers of X, visionary writer. See, he's a visionary beyond superstar.
Yeah.
Jonathan Hickman unleashed his boundless imagination on the ultimate universe. In these epic adventures, the mythic origin of Thor is revealed. Hawkeye takes on the most dangerous mission, the ultimate struggle to find their place in a changed world. And Reed Richards becomes the multiversal threat known as the Maker. One of the Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe or from the multiverse becomes a bad guy, and he's the one who kicked off the rebirth of the Ultimate Universe now that Jonathan Hickman has spearheaded with Spider-Man. I have Strange Adventures by Tom King, but this is the deluxe version.
Adam what?
Adam Strange.
Yeah.
See,
so they brought him back around again, huh?
Yeah, and he's always been like a turd of a character, like
he was like a B grade. I mean, his stuff
or C grade.
The Strange Adventure stuff that I collect is prior, right. And then they transferred it over onto him, and I kind of lost interest. I liked it when it was an anthology magazine, but go on.
This is Tom King's own kind of like dark, like mentally stressed take, like he does on a lot of characters, like Mr. Miracle. He did it on Batman.
Okay.
The truth is subjective. We've all heard the tale. Humble archaeologist Adam Strange gets zapped by a zeta beam and is transported to a distant planet. He falls in love with the ruler's daughter, helps the inhabitants fight invading aliens called the Pickets, Pykks, experiences personal loss, becomes a local legend, and writes a best-selling memoir about it. But what if the story wasn't that simple?
I think that's a super interesting selection for you. What possessed you to buy that one? Because that does not seem like it's in your wheelhouse.
They don't go to dentists.
It's not in my wheelhouse, but that's why I bought it, because Tom King, like Mr. Miracle's not in my wheelhouse, but people talked about how great the story was. I have to read it again. The first time I read it, it just seemed like a bunch of really depressing gobbledygook,
Mm-hmm.
but people swear by it like it's the second coming of the Ten Commandments, you know? And then he writes this, and Adam Strange is such a, he's a
Yeah.
C, D, E, F character that you can basically do whatever you want. So he did like, I think it's like, is he a war criminal? Something like that.
I don't even know.
So he took Adam Strange and put his dark twist on it. And then this one, this is a very popular story by Mark Waid
Okay.
and Mike Wieringo. I think this took place in the early 2000s.
Okay.
It says, Den of Geek says the right balance of pathos, humor, heroic drama, and over-the-top action. Family first. The Fantastic Four are more than just a super team. And few creators have understood that better than Mark Waid and Mike Wieringo. During their fan favorite run, they put the emphasis on the unique dynamic of Reed, Sue, Ben, and Johnny, plus, of course, Franklin and Valeria, which are apparently their children.
Right.
In far out, fun-filled adventures, the creative duo explored the unique ties that bind the Fantastic Four. But when Doctor Doom does the unthinkable, it threatens to tear them apart.
Dr. Doom is always cool.
Right.
That one seems super intriguing. So
it does. And it's like far out
nice and
science
heavy,
fiction adventure.
So Fantastic Four was my first exposure to connect me to superheroes because originally I was into the anthology and the horror stuff. And then when I first started reading like a continuous arc type thing with superheroes, it was Fantastic Four, and I loved it. Always have a soft spot for Fantastic.
I've never read a Fantastic Four comic, and then this came, the Nightwing Compendium, and they spelled compendium correctly on this one, surprisingly. Whereas on the Green
Did you get a
Lantern
refund on that other one?
did not. Be like, can I get a grammar credit on this book, please?
Yeah, really.
So I actually remember buying the very first miniseries that's in here, and I was like
the
blown
singles?
away, and I would draw it over and over.
Yeah.
And then this is where Nightwing gets his cool new costume, the black and blue.
Is that in color or is it black and white?
No, it's in color.
Okay. So what years would that cover roughly, the original?
Oh, I'd say probably the mid to late 90s. And then I got this one. I took the trade dress off because I'm reading it.
Mhm.
This is the Gail Simone Secret Six.
Oh, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah.
See, like I've read
Nice book.
about 3 issues so far of it.
Yeah.
Really neat from the golden age of my collecting. I really, really enjoy this. The first story is the Villains United 6-issue miniseries.
Mhm.
And it picks up not too long after Identity Crisis, because they talk about how they're going to band together and not let their minds be wiped by the JLA anymore.
Mm.
And then it goes into this whole thing of now they're taking on the society, which is like a bad guy society of Talia al Ghul, Dr. Psycho, Black Adam, and Lex Luthor, and I think maybe one other person. So this is really cool.
Serious group.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's like this is a really good story. I'm very much enjoying it, and
Cool.
I'll be burning through that because that also leads into Infinite Crisis. I also have my Infinite Crisis Omni here, so I can be ready to run through that.
Show us the cover.
This is another one. I took the trade dress off.
Yeah.
So
Who's that?
Jimmy.
Who's that? It is Jim.
Jimmy, Boys.
I could
What
tell.
Boys?
You could tell his Wonder Woman anywhere.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the way he has Batman and Superman looking at each other with this distrust, because that's part of the story too that leads into Infinite Crisis from Olmec Project.
Did they ever? They should do a love triangle with Superman, Batman, and Diana. Have they ever done that?
I'm sure it's been done in some form throughout the ages.
Yeah.
Maybe even like a like an Elseworlds tale.
Okay.
This one's super popular run from Scott Snyder back in the day, Batman
cool
Black
cover.
Mirror. Yeah. There were actually 2 covers for this.
Yeah.
But this is the one that I had.
Yeah.
And
I like
this is during the time when Bruce Wayne was like quote unquote dead from Final Crisis.
Uh-huh.
So this is actually Dick Grayson wearing the cowl, cape and cowl.
Okay.
You got to see how big this thing is. This is volume 3 of the JLI, Justice League International Omnibus. I have the first 2, but this one is part of the ones that came.
Oh my goodness.
right? Look at how fat this thing is.
I know, that's ridiculous. Is that like your fattest one ever? It's got to be.
No, I think the fattest one ever that I've seen was like 1,500 pages of
Wow.
Deathstroke by
Wow.
Christopher Priest.
Wow.
That thing was like as fat, if maybe a couple of more pages. And then this came volume 2 of Nick Spencer's Amazing Spider-Man omnibus.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Spider-Man was in the black costume and I didn't like it. Put him back in the red and blue costume.
So
Nice.
eventually I'll get into that because this is like the most recent omnibus of Spider-Man. There's
Yeah.
another writer now, but this was like Nick Spencer's big run. This was a reprint, I believe, of World War Hulk.
Oh. Now who wrote that?
Greg Pak and drawn by John Romita Jr. mainly.
Really? So when does
So-
that go back to?
2000, 2005, 2006, 2007 collected. But this was like the way the Hulk is dressed too.
Yeah.
This is when he went like
Is he like Intelligent Hulk?
yeah, and he went to that planet
Yeah.
and was like a gladiator. So-
Yeah.
And this is steeped in I think from Hickman's Avengers 2, where they send the Hulk off, the Illuminati.
Mm.
And the Illuminati is really cool. It's like Black Panther, Iron Man, I think Doctor Strange, Namor, the King of the Inhumans, and Captain America was in it.
Black Bolt.
Black Bolt, thank you.
Yeah.
Professor X, Beast. But then Captain America gets like mind wiped because he disagrees with them on one of
The
these.
JLA mind wiped him?
You guys, I thought of it first. And then yeah, so they apparently sent the Hulk off into space, and this is like where he landed, and he's PO'd because he was sent away by his friends. So that's pretty much that. So
Oh, that's all? I mean,
That's-
what? You don't
yeah.
got anything more?
in the Secret Six one, there's the mapping. One of the stories comes after one of the Birds of Prey is near the middle of the book, but it should be before one of the miniseries in Secret Six. And so Omar mentioned it. I didn't quite understand. And then OmniDog did his own video. And he said, Omar, a very fine condition, noticed this. And then Jess actually gave a more in-depth breakdown of like what pages to go to.
Hmm.
And so I took pictures of the screen and I texted him. I'm like, hey, thanks for clarifying that.
I got a few things I could show if you're so inclined.
Let's go. Let's go.
All right. Let's switch over here to the Sheehan Vision.
Yeah.
This
big
one
word.
especially, I brought this one out especially for you. I thought
Pippi
you
Lo-
would be very
All right.
excited.
Here's a quick story about Pippi Longstocking.
Oh, okay. Great.
So I remember my sister had Pippi Longstocking, and I had to let her watch her rented Pippi Longstocking. Then I could watch RoboCop after it. And I think maybe on the RoboCop VHS from the video store, there was a Pippi Longstocking like preview,
Oh boy.
like a trailer,
Yeah.
and then RoboCop, if I remember correctly. So I know
love it.
exactly who Pippi Longstocking is. Where's my ex of Sheehan?
This is in the category of stop this nonsense. Have you ever seen this?
No, but it makes me think of Miami Vice.
Yeah, Hamster Vice. So I went to that Overstock store that I go to, and I got a sheaf of one of their, 5 comics for $6 or whatever, and that was in there. And I'm like, what the heck?
I seriously can't even. I'm trying to piece together what I'm looking at, and I don't get it.
It's like a hamster Shatterstar.
You guys.
How about this? Have you ever heard of this?
No, but Gamora is part of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's probably not that. So.
Oh, is that what it is? Do you recognize? Can you read those? Do you rec Perlman? What? Chicado,
Chichetto.
Chicado, and Massa? Do you know any of those guys?
Chichetto, yeah, he was the artist recently on Zdarsky's one of Zdarsky's runs on Daredevil, one of his volumes.
So this is more recent because it's a $3.99 cover price. This was in there from Boom Comics. It was a #1 issue.
Alienated.
The reason I bought it though was that was on top.
Oh, super cool. That's you guys. That's Prophet. That's John Prophet.
Shatterstar.
Shatterstar.
Shatterstar and Wolverine.
You guys.
So that was the one that got me going on that. That's why I bought
You know what? But that's such a cheese. He took the mask from his Shatterstar and put it on John Prophet.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, whenever I saw that, and when I was younger, and I still see it, I always think of like the boxers that wear that when they
Yeah,
spar,
yeah,
the
yeah,
headgear.
yeah. He's got Cable's eye too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
He's
Anyway,
Cable's sister's mother's brother's long lost roommate or something.
so since the last time we've
Yeah.
recorded, I went to an
Estate sale.
estate sale. Well, was it an estate sale? Actually, I think the woman called me. Her husband had passed unexpectedly, and he was a collector of a bunch of stuff. And so Colleen and I drove to, I don't know, somewhere in Connecticut, I think it was. And
Wow.
but this one was fun. So let's see, what year was this? His stuff wasn't in the greatest shape. He didn't really take good care of his toys. 1954. But the cool thing is it's got a Philip K. Dick story in it. So that was called The Turning Wheel. So that was kind of like uh the fun thing on that. And the covers are kind of neat.
It's like the stories that book could tell of like life.
I thought this was fun too. That was that same collection. It's Johnny Mnemonic,
Oh, I
and it's
think
the
wasn't I
actual
think
Keanu.
Keanu Reeves was Johnny Mnemonic years ago.
Yes, Keanu Reeves. And it's not the book, it's the screenplay, which
Oh,
is kind of neat for a
interesting.
change. I never saw the movie.
I was gonna say I didn't either, but
It was like the beginning of Keanu's long period of time where he just everything he did was horrible.
it was his road to John Wick.
Yeah. Finally, it only took like 30 years.
Yes. Whoa.
So this is the original pulp format. There's a name for it. I heard it and I forgot it and I tried to look it
That's
up
so
before we were
cool.
recording. But so one of the format of the size, again, this one has been very poorly fixed with tape. The size 7 by the 10 by 7, the ragged edges, and then the covers overhang the pages. So that has a certain name for it. They call it a certain thing, and I can't think of what it was. Because the cover hangs over the edge of the text block, usually this cover, and that's what this person was apparently trying to forestall by taping it off. The covers get jammed, you know,
Uh,
they get broken off because there's nothing to support them. Here's another one. So this would be like 1935.
oh wow.
Thrilling Wonder Stories on
That's amazing.
skis. It's crazy stuff.
I was gonna say the 60s, the 30s. Holy
No, this is
moly.
the 30s. Yeah.
That's almost
Pulps.
100 years old.
Yeah. The pulps actually started in the 1880s, the earlier, like Penny Dreadfuls were the precursor to the pulps. See, we've got the chipping here, but let's see. And the paper, of course, is low grade, which is why they call it pulp. So it's brittle.
Learn radio.
This one's 1946. So mostly text. They usually had a picture maybe in the center, depending on the story. And then they would have a picture maybe at the beginning of to kind of get you into it. And then it would be, look at her. It says, shrieking like a lost soul, Perry launched himself at the dread flow on the wall of crystal. Blah. So one of the other things that I've done since we've last recorded is I've gone on Robbie's Whatnot.
Oh, you guys, you got the gimmick cover. Oh,
Yeah.
gimme,
So
gimme, gimmick.
I got this one, foil reproduction of the 98 New Mutants.
Come on, you got let it
Signed.
sparkle in the light a little bit.
If
Turn
we
it. There you go. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Gideon Sparkles, man.
Yeah, man.
Whoa.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's Rob Liefeld's signature.
Yeah. And it even has his name on the mailing label.
Yes.
Fun.
Rob Liefeld knows your address, and now you know his too. You guys are like brothers. Yeah.
We went to Boston in the spring. I want to say like March. I took Colleen to Boston. And while we were there, we went to I went to one of my favorite bookstores called the Brattle Bookshop in the shopping district. And by fortune, they happen to have just acquired a collection of science fiction, mystery paperbacks, and a bunch of some of the pulps. I still have a few to show. And then these eerie and creepy magazines that they just is not their deal. So they were just selling for like $5. And so I went through and cherry picked the best ones. The thing that's interesting about Eerie and Warren Publishing, so these guys did Eerie and Creepy and Vampirilla, Famous Monsters of Movie Land, Filmland, a bunch of those types of titles. They would rip off Ray Bradbury. So this is a rip on a Ray Bradbury story. They wouldn't credit him, and they didn't have rights to do it, but they would take his short stories and they would turn them into a comic thing and just tweak them a little bit. As I remember from the tale, is that his agent, I think, was telling him, he should sue him and say, cease and desist. And he wrote him a letter and he said, you really shouldn't be doing this. And I don't appreciate it. And you're not giving me credit. But the long and the short of it is, and I don't remember exactly how it played out, he wasn't really that upset about it. And then he actually ended up befriending and becoming friends with the editor and the publisher. And they actually had a good working relationship through the rest of their period. And he kind of just like cheekily, looked the other way and allowed them to continue to kind of rip on his stories. So that was kind of interesting. So this was, you time travel. You'd hire someone to send you back in time so you could game hunt the dinosaurs. This is another one. This is 1969, 40-cent cover price. Nothing necessarily spectacular about.
It's a pretty racy swimsuit outfit for the 60s.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Right. Well, the pulp stuff is always, I mean, this isn't pulp per se, but it's kind of in that family, right? They're cousins. All right. So that's 69, but here.
Whoa.
1950.
I'm thinking like racy things came out like that in the 70s,
No. This is why, and the lead up to Comic Code in part, I mean, again, this isn't comics, but it all was kind of like, quote unquote, trashy kind of.
I always thought like Betty Page was like a lone wolf in what she did back in those days.
Not
I
really.
didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know it was like this. So I'm learning.
So that would be 1950. And then what do we got? Let's see what this one is. They don't tell you on the cover. You got to look inside. This is also 1950. So that would be what they would call good girl art. So there's collectors for that, but that's a great cover. I love this. Makes me think of like Magnus Robot Fighter kind of stuff that was later in was it DC? No, I think it was Key or Dell had Robot Fighter. And again, sadly, I wish it was in better shape, but it's still fun. HP Lovecraft. That's why this is like $180 even in this condition, because of the fact that it has Lovecraft story in it. And then the last pulp. This is just kind of a fun cover. So this is a 15. I think this one might be from the 30s.
The art is actually well done for that time.
Isn't it fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is 1939. So I don't see any names. The thing that's interesting about this is they have a regular section on science fiction by Hugo Gernsback. And Hugo Gernsback is what the Hugo Awards, which is the highest award. It's like the Academy Award of Science Fiction, was based from him. He was a big advocate and a big publisher. I think he was a publisher or editor at the time. And so he really helped push science fiction forward. And the last thing I have again is another creepy. And the one that's cool about this is a Frazetta cover.
Oh.
So again, this is probably, let's take a look. Let's pull it out here and see. This is probably in the late 60s also.
Did you get that one in like out of print or?
No, these are all from either that collection or from down in Boston.
Oh, wow.
Oh, this one's 1970. Artist, Neil Adams is in here.
Hey.
I don't recognize any of the other names, but was kind of the thing that's fun is sometimes some of the comic artists would cross over into these guys too, which is neat.
That's way cool, man.
It is fun.
Like I'm genuinely intrigued.
Yeah, there's all you got the comics, right? And then there's like all these other things that are kind of around it. And it's interesting how there's crossovers and again, like I say, cousins to something else, or this thing leads to that. And, it's like a lot of the famous science fiction writers or novelists who went on to do novels started in the pulps. These are like later. I don't know if everyone considers them to be pulps. I still consider them to be pulps, but these would be stuff in the 50s and the 60s. So now we've shrunk it down. It's smaller to keep the cost down. This is January 55. But, Philip K. Dick, Isaac Asimov, Frederick Pohl, I mean, you would just like churn out stories and you get paid X number of pennies per word, and they'd fill out these magazines. There was a ton of them at the time, so you could just be like writing, and churning out these stories, month by month and trying to make a living, kind of like what Kirby did with the comics. Kornbluth is in this one. I don't recognize. Oh, Sprague, L. Sprague DeCamp, Ken Ballmer. Those are fairly well-known names. Frederick Pohl again in here, Theodore Sturgeon, Robert Sheckley, Jerry Soule. So it's kind of like, when you hear Robbie talking about the history of, the artists or the writers doing this, doing that, it was the same kind of a thing. Harlan Ellison, he wrote stuff for Star Trek. What about this last one here?
That one the cover makes me think of Adam Strange.
Right?
Yeah.
Similar vintage. I mean, Adam probably came a little bit later into the 60s. Oh, look at that. That's a great picture. Gonna eat you.
It looks like a pizza that turned into an octopus.
Anyway, it's just fascinating. And then
You know what?
Go ahead.
Those remind me of the Fast Mill editions that DC's and Marvelous are doing now. Like especially DC. I bought the Fast Mill facsimile of the first Batman appearance, the first Robin appearance.
I don't know that I'm familiar. What is it?
If you didn't know any better, it looks like the original comic.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is the original, even on the back, like the advertisements.
Oh, cool.
But they're graded, and like I think the most expensive one was like maybe $60 a couple of years ago that I bought.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the actual. If you looked at it, you would be like, "Oh my God, you have the first Detective Comics with Batman and the first Superman Action Comics."
Can you grab one? Do you have one handy that you?
Yeah, they're in the closet. Yeah, let me grab it.
Yeah.
So this is the first Superman one.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Can you pull it
back?
out of plastic?
Yeah, and on the back, it's like the same way it would have looked then.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
then the Batman one too.
So why do they call them? What'd you say? Fast mill?
Yeah, facsimiles, fast mill.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Just because they're like carbon copies of the original. To me, they're almost like works of art.
Are they holding value?
I don't know how much they're holding past whatever I paid for them. Again, they were inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like each one was less than $100.
Got one other thing here actually to show. All right.
Oh boy.
Did I show you this? I think I showed
you
you the 45 version. There was a Disney Records released a little book, and it had a 45 record in the back that played at slower speed, so it was longer. But this is the actual 33 edition. Now I've got to refurb this. Someone did a horrible job with it, which I will be doing. This is the kind of thing that I had. I didn't have this, but I had things like it when I was a kid. This is what
that is so cool, man.
Us 60-year-old-ish people had. We'd get a record. Like I had Peter Pan, and this one's actually got two, which is better than the ones I had. Usually it was just one.
Is that the one like remember in school when I was in school, they would have these records and it would read the story with you, but then it would go boop, and then you knew to turn the page.
I don't know if this particular brand does that or not, because honestly, I don't have a record player that functions. The ones that I had, as I recall, I don't believe that they did that, but basically you would follow along and you could tell when it was time to change. And so then you had this booklet too that would give you the whole story kind of in a condensed format, and you'd read along with it and look at the pictures.
That's so cool. Dude, that's awesome. That is so neat. What year is that from again?
So this movie came out in 78, I believe it was 77 or 78. And let's see if we can see a copyright. I'm going to have to assume it came out at the same time. It's part of the marketing.
That's so neat.
77. Rankin Bass production, 77. But the records were in decent shape. It's just the lid of the box was fairly trashed, but I'll repair, glue this stuff back down, clean it up and fix it and then resell it. But I thought it's just kind of a neat time capsule. And the artwork was just the artwork on this particular thing is have you seen this adaptation, the cartoon version from the 70s?
No, I heard Rob talk a little bit about it, and he has that episode dedicated to it for Lord of the Rings. But
all right, I'll give you a copy. I've got several. I bought a case of CDs or DVDs rather, probably 10 years ago, that I got from a wholesaler, and I was selling them when we were street vending. And I've got a few copies left, so I'll get you a copy just for the hoop. It should add it to your collection.
Yes, we're going to be interviewing the fabulously talented Sandra Hope.
Okay.
She has her own YouTube channel. I believe it's Ink Monkey. If you've read your comics, your graphic novels, and you looked at who inked it, you've definitely seen her name on there. Bud, because I want to know how the Bud song sounds. Jim, can you believe it? We're getting a signing bonus, like we're athletes, like when Michael Jordan or we're Magic Johnson.
Hey, Godzilla -1 has just been added to my recorded movies, but you don't have horns though.
No, I don't. Let the Bronco buck. Let the Bronco buck. Todd McFarlane is on the show.
What is the Marvel method?